You my only son. I got plans for you. I keep hearing funny things going on about that war, and I ain't losing my investment to no BS. Francis, whether you like it or not, you have a talent for business. You proved that when I made you earn your allowance. You focused your attention on my business plan. Your suggestions improved my bottom line by 10%.
I was bored. I only made a game out of being the boss. You know, hell, the king is dead. And long live the new king stuff. You know, if you really were dead, I'd...
That's enough! I see where you're going. Y'all laugh. Sure, I'm self-taught. But as a doorman, I learned a lot then. When I finally got my chance...
You always patting yourself on the back, like you some kind of Martin Luther King or something great. All you are is an Uncle Tom face of Jack Straw's Liquors and that department store. Like a McDonald's clown or something. No pride, no dignity.
It's same as when I wore a doorman's uniform at a second-class hotel for years. Weren't no shame then, either. 'Cause before me, my daddy wore the same uniform at the same second-class hotel. Despite our humiliation, we did it to feed our families.
All that pacifist stuff and king are fading away. Like that square music you playing. Today our music is like James Brown. You black and you proud. 'Cause it's a new day. If you were scared to stand up for black empowerment, you deserve to be wiped out. That's what me and my club buddies shout.
All that James Brown stuff ain't nothing but a fad. It ain't ever gonna last. One good thing King did, he left that young fella Jesse Jackson in charge of operations here. That was the best thing he could have ever done.
What? For what my friends, and they ought to know, they agree that Jackson's a pretentious loudmouth. One of them closet, newfangled black nationalist types. The one who wears army jackets all the time.
Well, he's got the right idea, I say. Targeting chain stores that deal unfairly with blacks in hiring and firing makes more sense. Focus on the seed of real power. Money!
Here, Francis, now be on your way.
Esther, you and Mama ain't helping him by catering to him like he's a kid. I'm trying to do for him what my father did for me and T, but not spoiling him into adulthood like T. My son ought to be thinking about one day becoming a father himself, the head of his own family.
Mr. High and Mighty, Francis is only just 21. How many mistakes you made when you were 21? I remember you making a lot. Before I say something I might regret, I'm going back to the kitchen.
Lawrence only came of age on the night he took Linda's money. Francis, remember, it was under false pretenses.
I repeat, that was a legitimate real estate transaction. No, I ain't no idealist, at least not like Martin Luther King. I truly come up from poverty. I know and understand our people firsthand.
Girls, how about we change our clothes and Auntie T will take you both out to do a little shopping. Let's ride up to our rooms and change our clothes. Oh, come on, Suzette. I'll race you up the stairs. Suzette, stop it. Come back here and take the elevator. Wait until I get up there. Son, what's wrong? The way you've been drinking lately. Why, that was the most drinks I've seen you drink in years.
I know. After a few years of selling it, I lost my taste for the stuff entirely. It's still as awful tasting as it ever was.
Then why do you drink it at all? Now, I've been watching you. You've been jittery like all day. It's as if it's what Esther said. She didn't mean what she said.
Mama Esther is a saint. Did you know that Francis is keeping it from us all that he's hanging out with Emerson Johnson, Tiara's old boyfriend, the same Emerson who I threw out that time at the old place for unseemly conduct?
That same snobbish young man who used to drive them little fancy cars?
Yeah, him. Both his mama and daddy were judges. They sent him to the best military schools, but he became a doctor. Done seen the world. Now he sneaks around with a low-down crowd. And he is the same boss Tierra works for at the hospital. Now, hear that? The elevator's coming down. Must be sleepwalking beauty coming back. And I think that calls for another drink.
Well, those girls better hurry up. They know when I'm dressed, I'm ready to go. Child, where's your coat? You're going to catch pneumonia. I don't care how unstylish you think it is. This is still January in Chicago. Oh, Mama, please. I'll not be going outside. My car is parked in your enclosed, heated garage. Besides, I just heard the weather report. It's 67 degrees. It's so nice. The girls and I may even extend our day. Have a nice lunch. Why don't you come along? Mom, just get out the house. Oh, Tiara, you've been riding your brother a lot, but I ain't heard you explain why you've left that nice boy, your husband. Judging from the looks of things, so far as I can see, he's been good to you and his daughter. Most of the time he works his cab and pays all the bills while you bank your paychecks. Ain't I right, Esther?
Sure are. Mama don't seem he ever has time to sleep.
Oh, he does what he can. But I'm the doctor in the family. It's my salary that allows Suzette and I to live in the manner we've become accustomed to. The only reason I'm not at the hospital today is because my boss granted me a 30-day leave to attend my personal matters.
Myron, and ain't he generous, giving you time enough for you to divorce your husband? Despite your new big shot friends, if I remember right, it was D who put up with your flights of fantasies, put aside his own dreams to work so you could concentrate on passing your classes. He was the one who made you study through medical school.
My boss is the head of the hospital. If he is allowing me to guide me, he believes I can be a great doctor someday.
We know who your boss is, Tierra. Maybe he feels a little conflicted that he lost out to D. It's no accident him and his people don't mind a woman who look like you rising, but they reject that poor, pure, black, Negroid-looking Nubian prince you're married to, who just happens to have a Ph.D. himself. But he drives a cab and lives in the house his wife just bought. Tierra, you excluded D's name off of the deeds.
How you know that? Now, you know a lot of my business, don't you? All that has nothing to do with it. It's because I will not allow my child to venture into her father's country. I've been informed by people who have traveled there that people in Africa have customs of genital scarring. His tribe and family may insist on my daughter undergoing such a ritual. Now, I'm not going to do that.
I wonder who that is.
Easy to find out. Go to the door, Miss Maid, stand in.
Very funny, Lawrence. Speak of it's DeWitt.
Well, let him in.
Hey, DeWitt, what's that, man? Oh, he's a crazy man. He speak, but he only got eyes for Tiara. Kind of sickening to see, ain't it?
T, your leaving our home was so uncalled for. Mama, this all started the other day when I returned home, not to spy on her as I was accused of. I did not even know she was home from the hospital. I had forgotten and needed to retrieve my driver's license. I confess I might have overreacted, but it was after I overheard them talking about me behind my back. They were filling her head with lies.
Why, of all the phony African princes driving cabs in this city, most lying to our women about being rich? It is our family's luck to get a real one, and he honest enough to admit he poor. And who in the hell are you, sir, to tell a grown woman who happens to be a successful doctor like T, who she can have or not have as guests in her own home? How dare you? Now tell me, savage. Do you people in Africa do the cutting of the private parts or not?
That was the conversation ongoing between T and her guests. A group that coincidentally included her boss in my home. In fact, it was he who became rude and cast dispersions on me that were unfounded and most insulting.
Dr. Emerson Johnston simply pointed out what he had observed happening when he traveled and worked there in Africa before he became head of the hospital here, and you got mad.
What I said was, at large, such practices were not part of the Ashanti warrior tribe's customs. He challenged me with calling him a liar. He began saying that Tiara and Suzette would be better off without me around. She knows this is all true what I say.
Right. We don't want no spear chuckers taking over our women here. No how.
As usual, you mock me, Lawrence.
Lawrence, will you shut up?
Oh, Dr. Godfrey. I hear you intend calling yourself that now. Gonna drop the LaSala part. I have a question. How do you U.S. doctors reconcile to cutting off the foreskins of male infants? Ain't that a kind of a
It's not the same thing, Lawrence.
I am more and more being asked to come home to begin serving my country. My problem is I don't think I can leave my American family, and if they won't go...
A lot of folks like T, who used to be, are into that black back to Africa movement. I heard to be accepted as true Africans, you had to be born in Africa. That true? You know, the world is changing, and I ain't sure it's for the good. Take all this talk about black power. I don't really understand it. What they mean talking like that? Huh? Y'all remember when last spring Mr. Bourgeois King moved to Chicago and lived on the northwest side? Then when, despite being escorted by the Blackstone Rangers, he was hit in the head with a brick, leading a march on the south side in Gage Park. He said racism in Chicago was worse than any he ever faced in the South.
Why do you feel so threatened, Lawrence? You have always been a closet Republican, a capitalist. You only happen to vote Democratic. To think how Lawrence and me, we once were arch foes of the system. Now you, Lawrence, so love money that you are forever locked into the system, doing business with people who rub your head for good luck while hating your color. Similar to when you was that doorman at the hotel.
Money been good to you too. I don't see you wearing no afro no more either.
Lawrence, what they're all talking about is political and economic empowerment, really the same as you. An example recently which served as a catalyst to unify the black nationalists and the civil rights people was the shooting of James Meredith last year during his March Against Fear, when that group, the Black Panthers, joined Martin Luther King and the core leaders in finishing the march as a symbol of hope. In particular was Stokely Carmichael who coined the phrase black power. He called for American black people to recognize their heritage and build a sense of community, to form and lead their own organizations, and to reject the values of American society.
How do you know so much?
Because I drive a cab, I hear a lot. I know those who use the phrase do not advocate violence or the overthrow of the U.S. Constitution, as some say they do.
Yeah, cabbies know stuff just like doormen. Along with the First Amendment, I insist blacks must have the right of the Second Amendment, same as whites. The best part of being rich is you get to understand the big picture. All the talk about poverty resulting from the exploitation of Africa by white imperialists, don't talk about them black African rulers and their families living rich, while the common people starve and die in the streets from disease or from violence inflicted on them by well-fed army peoples. While over there, we could be killed by some of them just for talking about what we is saying now. Nah, I'm American, and I'll die American. A Yankee Doodle through and through.
You don't even know how to use a gun. I agree that segregation don't work. I remember 2 years ago what the great thing the Robert Taylor Homes was going to be for housing for all low-income people, but only the Negroes ended up living there. And now, words coming out about the daily breakdown of the elevator, the vandalism, and worse, isolated good people. There are also victims of growing violence and gangs. It's a shame. Nobody cares because whites don't live there in numbers enough to create outrage at those conditions.
See,